All right, we are live, baby. We are live. All right, what's up, y'all? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club podcast. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I am the host for this podcast. I'm very excited today. I have a very special guest today. Very special guest. One of my Polynesian tocos all the way from Arizona. He is a health business coach. So you guys have been consuming my content, consuming my podcast. You know, it's an open dialogue where everybody is welcome to share their life story and talk about their variety of topics. But I'm excited today because this is a health and business coach. And we're going to talk a lot about business. We're going to talk a lot about physical health and mindset, which is, I believe, is one of the most important things that you have to work on, especially personal growth, happiness, love, fulfillment. It all starts with your mindset. So I'm excited to consume and learn from this brother and one of my tocos. So, but I'll let him introduce himself. I know he's ready to get this started. We had a great conversation before this, but I'm ready. I'm excited for this podcast. So I'll let him introduce himself real quick. So go ahead.
Awesome. So what's up, everybody? My name is Josiah Alipate. I'm 36 years old from Scottsdale, Arizona. Like Will said, I'm a health and business coach, and I'm super excited to be here and just to chop it up and hopefully provide some value for you guys today.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm fired up, man. All right, so yeah, but like I said, number one, like I said, like I always say in every video, every podcast, thank you, I'm grateful for taking the time for doing this for everybody, not only for me, for also everybody out there that that's going to be watching this. So let's get right into it. The first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
Yeah, how did I grow up? So I grew up in the Bay Area. So I was born and raised in the Bay Area and lived in Vallejo, California for many years of my life. Pretty much grew up there until I was about 18 and, grew up in my household. It was me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. And so we grew up in this little town in Northern California, and went to elementary school, junior high, high school, all in Vallejo, and then kind of grew up in a pretty crazy area of town.
Vallejo.
Yeah, it was kind of wild there at times, but ended up finishing high school actually. So like kind of crazy, I was kind of a mischievous kid growing up, and so I did a lot of like pretty bad things, and I got kicked out of high school. Got sent to secondary education school. So that's crazy because like I graduated from there, and I graduated in the top 4% of my class, and everybody's like, dang man, you graduated in the top 4% of your class. And I was like, yeah, but that's like the top 4% of like the bad kids. So that's not really saying a whole lot. So, I finished off high school. I got my diploma, ended up moving to Las Vegas right after I graduated high school, and was in Vegas for a long time. I played semi-professional football out in Las Vegas. And then also, as I started to grow up, I went from high school, and then when I was 21, worked in the nightclub industry in Las Vegas, which was kind of crazy. Worked there for several years. Worked there for about 10 years. Started my own, that was the first time when I started my own business, started my own bodyguarding firm. Where we would do on-set production security for Warner Brothers when they would film their movies in Las Vegas. Did that for quite some time. And then in 2017, decided to move here to Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've been here ever since.
Oh, okay. All right. That's one hell of a story, all the way from Vallejo all the way to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yep.
A lot of people who don't know, Scottsdale, Arizona is like one of those really, really nice places in Arizona to live in.
Super beautiful. So like golf is like big time out here. I don't play golf. I don't have have any idea what that is, but a lot of people come here for it. It's a beautiful place. There's sunshine majority of the time of the year. And yeah, it's a really, really awesome place. And to go from Vallejo to Scottsdale, Arizona is like, it's the trip.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So, uh, a question I want to ask you is because something that I'm always interested in hearing everybody's story and kind of reverse engineer how everybody grew up. So, um, how was it for you growing up? Because right now, like I said, today you're a successful health and business coach, right? So, um, how was it for you growing up? Because you are Tongan, right? You're Tongan.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you growing up as a Tongan man in Vallejo? Are you first? Are you the very first generation Tongan for your family?
Yep.
So that's a question I want to ask you. So how was it growing up as a Tongan and growing up in the culture and trying to figure out yourself and what you want to do for your life? Because I know our culture, there's a lot of layers of, especially like mindset beliefs that we're taught as early as a child. So that can definitely have a big impact of who we become and what in the choices we make in life. So I'm just interested to hear that because I do know there's a lot of Polynesians that watch this. So how was the experience growing up as a Tongan man with your parents? What were the struggles that you feel like I feel like the struggles that you grew up maybe experiencing because of the culture because you were Tongan. So I'm just interested to hear that from you.
Yeah, so growing up as a Tongan and in a Tongan household, man, I'm appreciative of my parents. I'm
Yep.
appreciative of the hard work ethic that they instilled in me,
Mm-hmm.
the things that they did to provide for us as a family. I would literally remember like my dad working all kinds of long hours, and I little did I know, I didn't know that it was to be able to pay the bills and keep the light on and do
Yeah.
all things, right? And so, just watching my parents and their work ethic um, was something that really stood out for me as I was growing up. Some of the struggles that I faced was like, I feel like, so when I was in high school, I was trying to figure out like who I was, where do I fit
Yep.
in,
Yep.
and so for me, I kind of hung out with everybody. I hung out with the loners. I hung out with the polys that were on campus. I hung
Yep.
out with the jocks. I was also in
Yeah.
band. I was in band, so I hung out with the band geeks. You know what I mean? I hung out with the smart kids. I hung out with
Yeah.
kids who were cutting school. Like that's why I
Yeah.
got out of school because I was cutting school a lot. So I
Yeah.
hung out with a wide variety of people, right? And so
Yeah.
but what I noticed was, especially in the Tongan, like with all my Polynesian people that I was seeing, it was like one of two things: you either were really great at sports,
Mm-hmm.
or you were doing something that you probably shouldn't have been doing,
Yeah.
right? And
Especially in Vallejo, right? Especially in Vallejo.
especially in Vallejo. And
Yeah.
so I didn't I told you I was in band, so I didn't play sports a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I hung out with the other side of the crowd, right? I
Yeah.
would cut school all the time. I'd go to band class, do my course, do my work in there, and then cut school the rest of the time, doing a whole bunch of dirt. And and it gets to a point where you're like, for me personally, I thought to myself, man, this can't be it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
watching my friends get locked up, watching friends get caught up in shootings and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, man, I don't want to end up like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, man, I need to do something. So that's when I got sent to that secondary education school, I got kicked out of high school,
Yeah.
went to secondary education. It was an eye opener for me then, because I was like, man, I actually want to make something of my life. I actually want to do something. There was just something inside of me that wanted to be different, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be the same as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy because like when I tried to, I was just being me, but
Yeah.
it's different from what everyone else was normal to.
Yeah.
And the people that I was around, even like the polys that I was around, they would be like, "Ah, man, you like you ain't one of us, you know, like you ain't one of us. And I had to take that, right? Because it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. And so those were some of the struggles that I had when I was growing up, because I wanted to be different. I knew that there was something bigger for my life. I just didn't know what it was. And so at that point, that's when I started making decisions. Like I want to be different in this life.
So what was the first, well, what was, do you remember like the first time that you decided, you know what, I'm going to be cool? Because I know everybody can relate to this. In high school, that's the time we're trying to figure out yourself. In high school, all of us, that's the time that everybody's trying to figure out who we are. But, everybody know how high school is. We're all trying to fit in. We all want to be accepted. We all want to have friends. So a lot of times it's hard. But when did you at what point in your life did you decide that, you know what, I'm just going to do me? And then kind of separate yourself from everybody else. Like what point of time in your life did you just start doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was like in like 24, 25.
Okay.
I was working in the nightclub industry, and it was a little bit more of the same. Like I was hustling as a bouncer in the nightclub industry, working with more of my poly friends, Tongan Samoans. We take over the nightclub industry.
Yeah.
So we were working in there, and a friend introduced me to a emotional intelligence and leadership workshop. And so, he told me that it was a business workshop. He told me, hey, this is going to help you build your business, right?
Yeah.
It was a 3-month workshop. It was a 3-month leadership course. And I said, yeah, I definitely want to grow my business. At that time, I had my bodyguarding business. I was like, I definitely want to grow my business. Man, I was in for a like rude awakening. Like it wasn't even a business seminar. It was like, it literally broke down all of the like limiting beliefs and mindsets that I had about me, about life, about people, about business, about relationships. Like it literally broke down every single thing that I thought about how I saw the world, and it shattered it to pieces. And it like it showed me like I could actually step into a different life than I'm living right now. And I don't have to be a bouncer the rest of my life. I don't have, and so I thought to myself, wow, like I could actually create, right? Like I can create more than what I think. And I realized I had a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of roadblocks in my mindset. And that was the moment when I decided, you know what, like there's even more for me that's out there in the world. So that's when I decided, all right, I'm gonna just keep going and seek out like support from other people, accountability, like, and that was like the beginning of my awareness, to be able to like start focusing on me and creating the life that I want to live.
Yeah, I definitely want to spend some time and let's dig deeper into that, because I can definitely relate what you said from my own journey in life. For me, like you said, everybody knows my story. I grew up in Tongan, I came out here to America. And, for me, when I came to America, like I wanted the American dream. Like I wanted to come here and make something out of myself. I didn't come here. I wanted to take care of my family, but for me, like, I guess, like I said, like, that's something I always look back at it, because, even though I'm if you look at all my siblings, like I'm just the odd one out. Or I'm just when it comes to like my passion, my goals, my mindset, I'm way out there. All right. But I just realized for myself, like you said, I just wanted to be different. But there was a time, like you said, like, you said that you didn't make that decision until you were 25. So that means until from 1 to 25, for 25 years, you were living those limiting beliefs that you had about yourself, right? It wasn't until you turned 25, you went to that workshop, that once your mindset changed, and then once you realized that there is a better life, that there's more that you can do as a person, that's when everything changed. I can totally relate to that, because for the longest time that I just thought that the most I can do in life was just what every single Tongan I saw within my environment. Because all I saw when growing up was my people working yate, people working at the airport, people working clubs, bouncing. So for the longest time, I thought that that's as far as my life could go. And that was the belief I had within myself. And it wasn't until that, like, I remember we had a discussion the other day when we first met, that I met some people and I started working sales. That's when they started changing my mindset and told me, no, you can make more money. You can do whatever you want. You can start a business. You can grow. And that, once my mindset changed, once my perspective changed of what I saw and what I believed about myself, that's when everything changed. And that's when I realized that I can do anything. And I know if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing this podcast with you right now. I wouldn't even start a podcast, right? So I want to go deeper into that because I feel like that's something that's very important for the people that's watching right now. So can you talk about the cultural beliefs, in your opinion, in your own experience? What are the limiting beliefs that we have as Polynesians, that we have as Tongans growing up, and based on your own experience growing up? Because you said that that blew your mind and it shattered everything of what you believed in to be true for yourself. So I'm just interested to see your opinion, your experience of the limiting beliefs that we have in our culture and why a lot of Polynesians struggle. Because one thing I do know about our people in Tonga is, like, we don't like change, right? Number one, we don't like change, and if anybody decides to change, they usually label them as, oh, look at this guy, fear. They want to be like, fear. Want to be what fear is like. It's like criticizing somebody for being something. You want to be something better. All right. So that's something I noticed in our community, that we always like to criticize those that want to be different and always want to strive to a higher level of success. But I do want to ask your perspective on it, your answer on that. That what are the beliefs? What are the limiting beliefs that you saw growing up in your as a Tongan?
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to start even just by saying I believe that the Tongan culture has the most beautiful traditions that I've ever witnessed in anywhere. Like, from the respect of family to the hierarchy of how homes work to how the kingdom operates to just the most beautiful of ceremonies and traditions. But I really believe that those things that were once beautiful traditions have lost their meaning, and people have turned them into things that take us way off track.
Yep.
And so, some, like you had mentioned, like fiamea, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, like you trying to be something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's think about this for a moment. Why would you ever turn that into a negative thing? Why would you ever want to not be something or make something of yourself or do something great in this world, right?
Yeah.
Right? It says, on our Tongan seal, right? Ko otua motonga kohoku tofia, right?
Tofia, yep.
Right? So God and Tonga is my heritage. And so if I'm created in the image of God and God is my heritage, why wouldn't I want to be something? Why wouldn't I want to create something? Why wouldn't I want to be the image of God in the world and shine that light?
Yep.
But then we diminish it down to calling people, and then they shrink, and then they don't want to do nothing with their life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so, I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this topic.
No, because hey, that's the fire I want, but that's the fire we need, man. This
is the thing, man. And I really believe this in my heart, right? I'm so grateful for my parents. I'm so grateful for all of our elders who've shown us the way and instilled in us hard work and commitment and gratitude and all of those things, right? So grateful for that, right? And at the same time, we got to take that torch and we got to move forward, to be able to create something for ourselves. We talked about this the last time we talked, the island mindset.
Yep.
Right? It works in Tonga, right? It just doesn't work here in the United States. It probably doesn't work in very many places around the world, right? Because when you come here to America, you got to pay your taxes, right? You talking about having a yate business, you got to have a business license to operate your yate business, unless you're going to do it illegally, which many people do, right?
Yeah.
And then you get caught up on your business. Now you don't have a business anymore, right? And we just have this island mindset of super relaxed and but I love that, right? I love that it has its place, but here in the United States and also like it causes people to live in poverty, right? And so there's a difference between a poverty mindset and an abundance mindset. There's a big difference between the two, right? And the thing is I don't blame my parents for teaching me what they taught me. I don't blame my family members for teaching me what they taught me, because pieces of them, just like the traditions that we have that are so beautiful, pieces of what they taught me, they serve their purpose in a particular area of my life, right? But on the other end of the spectrum too, you know, my parents were doing the best that they could given what they were given, right? They did the very best that they could to raise me the way that they knew how to raise me best. They didn't know any differently how to do it. If they knew how to do it any differently, they would have done it differently, right? And so I'm grateful for that. And then now as a 36-year-old man, recognizing, man, I had some past beliefs that didn't work for me. Now I want to be able to, call me female all you want to, because I do want to make something of myself. I do want to be something. I do want to leave a legacy behind. I do want to raise a family where each and every single one of my kids know the Lord, and that they also equally know how to be able to generate an income for themselves, right? Like, and be able to provide for themselves, right? And be able to represent God. Like how you, man, I'm about to go off. How you gonna be, a leader of a church, for instance, right? Some of y'all might at me on this, but like, how are you gonna be the pastor of a church, flat broke, overweight, and literally begging people for money? How are you gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
And let's take it biblically. Let's take it even further. Like, we could take it biblically. Look at the ministry of Paul. Paul told people, I didn't ask you for money. I worked with my own two hands. I provided. He was a tent maker. That dude built tents. He worked. He got on and he actually worked. He was an entrepreneur. He did things for himself, right? So that he can make a bigger impact out in the world. And that's what I love about where I'm at now, and what I want to show people to be able to do. You can take what you have right now, right? Work diligently at it, and you can flip that and make a big impact for other people. So I know I covered like a whole spectrum there, but like, man, there's a lot of big mindset for, the Tongan community, Polynesian community to really break through.
Yeah, man, I love that fire, man. I feel like I want to jump through a wall right now. Let's go, coach. But like you said, I know you covered a lot of things, so I do want to take the time, man, because I really believe that this is a very important topic. Because for me, and I remember I talked to you, one of the main reasons why I started this podcast, because I wanted to bring awareness to the things that we go through as Polynesians, because like you said, man, Polynesia, we have so much beauty within our culture. We have so many good things about us. And for me, I believe we have so much potential, right? We have so much to offer to this world, even though we are unrepresented, even though we're like less than 1% in the population, right? Even though we're the minority, even though we are the minority. But for me, it's like you said, like, I know just my own personal experience growing up with Polynesians, like, I've just seen so many people that have talent, have gifts, can become successful start successful businesses, become entrepreneurs, but they never take action. They never take that step. They never even go outside their comfort zone because of that limited belief, or they're afraid of what people think, what people gonna ostracize them for being different. So I really want to spend some time in doing this. So I want to break down everything. I want to break down everything that you just talked about. I want to break that to the detail, because I want to provide as much value and so everybody is going to consume this content right now. So let's first talk about what you said in the beginning, the island mindset, right? Why doesn't it not work here in America? And I know me and you, we discussed this, we talked about it when we first met. because the island mindset of just being relaxed, just being grateful for what you have, right? Because in Tonga, the lifestyle in Tonga, number one, in Tonga there's no taxes in Tonga. There's no like you said, we don't have the taxes in Tonga like we have here, right? So as far as like in Tonga, like I remember when I grew up in Tonga, I mean, even though you needed money, but you didn't really need money to survive in Tonga. You could live off the land. You could, right? You could live off the land. We worked together as neighbors. Like we didn't have as much tax, as much expenses that we have here in America. So you can generate a little bit of money, but you can still make it and still live a happy life in Tonga, depending on what your happiness is. But you can still live a happy life. I grew up with 25 cousins in the same household in Tonga, and we weren't rich. we didn't have a lot of money, but our family, we figured out a way to live off the land and still make it work and still be able to provide for ourselves and still live a happy life, and feed 25 cousins all in the same house. Right. And like, even though like we weren't eating like feast all the time, but I had something in my stomach every single day as a child. So I'm very grateful for that lifestyle. But I understand that come here in America, there's a lot of obligations, there's a lot of bills to pay, there's a lot of expenses, there's a lot of taxes that we have to pay. So you have to have that mindset to go out there and make things happen. You can't just wait for things to happen. And also, I know growing up as a child, and that's one of the biggest things that I was always afraid of wanting more, because I remember as a child, my parents I was taught to just appreciate what I have. And if you wanted more, like if you wanted more, or if you talked about wanting more, then you'll be seen as you were greedy, The one thing I learned about here when I was studying about success people in America, like there's nothing wrong with wanting more money for yourself to take care of your family, right? If you want to become a millionaire, if you want to generate more income and build a business, there's nothing wrong with that. But I remember growing up, I always felt like that if I wanted to make, like I said, make something out of myself, if I wanted to make more money and also like sacrifice a lot of my time to make more money. And because everybody knows that when you start working towards your goals and dreams, it's going to require you to take a step out, to big sacrifices with your life, from your own personal life, to achieve what you want. And I remember when I first started working in sales, that when I started taking time away from my family and attending family function, or even going to church because of work, a lot of times they will always tell me, "Oh, you work too much. Why are you working for? What are you going to do with all that money? What are you working for? That you're worshiping money. You care about too much money over your family," which wasn't the case, because like I know what struggle feels like. I know what poverty feels like, and I realized for myself, like I wanted to take my family out the struggle, and here I am in America trying to work and trying to make sacrifices and moves for myself and for my family, but now they're telling me that I work too much, or all I care about is money. And then a lot of times I felt like, okay, maybe am I being too materialistic? Do I value money too much over my family? Should I just be grateful for what I have and just settle like everybody else? Or should I just maybe just quit my sales job, because that's when I started making some good money for myself. When I worked in sales, that was the first time I ever made six figures. I made a six-figure income for the first time ever. I made more money than both my parents combined, right? But I was doubting myself with whether this path was the right path for me, because all I hear from my family is, you work too much, you don't attend the family functions, or you care about you're too money motivated. And then I almost almost had that point when I wanted to quit and just go back and just get a normal job, because I just wanted to fit in like everybody else, and what the family wanted out of me. So that's my experience with the island mentality. But I realized today that I always so, like you said, it, he hit it in the nail, like that island mentality, or relax and just letting things happen and waiting for things to happen, and not being proactive, not taking moves and going out there and pursue what you want. That doesn't work here. That doesn't work here in the United States, especially when the competition. Everybody's competing. Everybody's is competing towards what you want. Everybody's working towards the same goals. So you have to not only compete only with yourself, but everybody out there that's doing the same thing you're doing. So I wanted to ask you is, can you break down, that's my perspective of my own personal experience with the island mentality. I realized for myself that my mentality of having just relaxed and just going with the flow, just being grateful for what I have. I realized like I had to break that habit of understanding and belief. It's okay for me if I want something more. It's okay for me if I want to be great. It's okay for me if I wanted to, create generational wealth for my family. But I just understood that process it takes to get there is going to require for me to live a different life and think differently from everybody else. And I had to realize for myself that was okay. Like, it's okay for me to be different. It's okay for me to want something more out of my family and have a better vision for myself. And even though my family may not understand my own vision for myself and for my career, for my life, that's okay because they don't understand what I'm trying to do for myself. But that's one of the biggest battles for me was to leave that island mentality of just waiting for things to happen and just being grateful for what I have. And just we used to say in Tongan, and go out there and just be, do me and be myself and be the best I can be. And then right now, like, I'm trying to go as far as I can in life. And that's what I'm trying to work as right now. And then, but I want to ask you is, what does that island mentality mean to you? And why doesn't, in your opinion, why doesn't it work here in America? And especially for all these kids out here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm even thinking too, I think I might want to take back that it doesn't work in America. There's aspects of it that doesn't work in America.
Okay, got you.
So I think, yeah, I'm taking that
I get
because I'm thinking about the island mentality as a whole. And I think in any mindset, there's a healthy piece to that mindset, and then there's a way unhealthy piece to that mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like on the island mindset, the what I think would be a healthy mindset, a healthy piece to it. Yeah, gratitude, being grateful for what I have. Absolutely. That is very healthy. But that doesn't mean I need to be satisfied with what I have.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's yeah.
What I'm saying?
That's what I meant. Yep.
And that's what I'm just starting to like recognize right now is that the island mindset isn't necessarily bad, right? But there's an unhealthy side to it because people that be grateful for what you have, and they use it as an excuse to be stuck at where they're at right now, right? There's the other end of the spectrum where people say, okay, island time, right? So you got island time, it's just kind of take it easy. It's island time, man. It's vacation time, right? There's areas of your life where that's fine, right? There's areas of your life to be present in those moments and enjoy that moment. But that doesn't give you an excuse to show up late to business meetings. That doesn't give you an excuse to show up late to parties, show up late to functions. You're the one who always late because you were taught that, oh, you just whatever. I just show up whenever I show up, right? And I believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yep.
And so if that's how you show up on a day-to-day basis, that's how you're going to show up on your job interview. That's how you're going to show up in life, right? And so there's pieces of that island mindset. And I think the unhealthy end of it, the unhealthy piece of that island mindset keeps us small. It keeps us small, never thinking ever bigger than the island, never thinking any bigger than just right here, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is when you go from here to a bigger pool, which is America or wherever it is in the world that you decide to go, anywhere outside, I mean,
anywhere outside of Tonga.
Tonga is a dot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tonga is a dot on the map. So you go from this little dot and you go to anywhere else in the world, there's pieces of that mindset that works, but you also have to be willing to adapt to the mindset of what works in that particular region of wherever you're at, right? So like me, or like you adapted very quickly when you jumped into the realm of sales.
Yeah.
I adapted very quickly when I jumped into the realm of the nightclub industry. I learned because I was in relationship with so many different people. I recognized I can't be the same old like thuggish dude up in the nightclub, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and people will look at me and they'd be like, you know, we talked about this the other day. You know, a lot of people look at me and be like, man, Josiah, you're so articulate. You know, you can articulate words very well, man. You don't even seem like you're Tongan, you know. And I think to myself, well, if you only knew me when I was in the Bay Area, like if I go to the Bay Area right now and I hang with my friends, I could talk all the time. I could talk all the things, but I recognize that where I'm headed in my life, those people ain't up there, you know. The CEOs of companies and businesses, they ain't up there. They're talking like, and I had to adapt. I had to learn. I had to adapt. I had to adjust. And so that's the thing. Like I don't want to say that the island mindset is necessarily bad. It is not. There's great pieces to it. Just like our culture, there's great pieces to it, but there's an unhealthy side of it that keeps people small, that keeps people shy, that keeps people, you know, not thinking big, right? Like if you, like I literally, probably anybody or a lot of people who are watching this right now, I don't know if you ever thought about what your vision for your life actually is for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years of your life. And if you haven't thought about that, you're going to be in the exact same place that you are today. You're going to be there 5 years from now. Nothing will change unless something changes, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, I had to change my mindset. And I hope that this would be an encouragement to, if you're watching this, like, yo, you got to start thinking about these things, right? We're going into 2021. We're literally, it's the 29th today. We're recording this video on the 29th. Literally got 2 days left, right? And if you haven't thought about how you want your 2021 to turn out, then it's going to be more of what you saw in 2020. Like there's a big difference between let's just go with the flow, right? If you just go with the flow, you're going to have a go with the flow kind of life, and life's going to throw everything at you, right? And there's a difference between living a life of design than life by default. And life by default is living life, just whatever life throws at you, that's what you get. You get what you get, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. You can actually live a life by design, but you got to take the time to actually design that out for yourself.
Yo, that was fire. Life by design and life by design. I just wrote that down right now. Is that the original quote by Josiah?
Hey, quote me on it.
Make sure you make a picture and make a quote and post it on your social media. It's an original quote by Josiah. Hey, that's fire. I do want to, I think, I do want to kind of like re-articulate what I said, because I felt like when I was talking about it, I was really passionate. But you're right. Like the island mentality, and this is something I always believe in. Like if that what makes you happy, like if you just want to stay in, if you just want to get a normal job and just stay where you at, and you're happy living your life where you're at right now. Because for me, I believe it's all about happiness. Because I know I do understand that just because I want something for my life doesn't necessarily mean that's what everybody wants for their own life. Because everybody has their own success is defined by everybody else. You know, my definition of success can be different from everybody else. I think the island mentality, what I believe, is when it comes to growth. So if you, like you said, if you want to grow to be the best version of yourself, that's when that island mentality does you a disservice. I feel like that doesn't put you at an advantage, put you actually at a disadvantage. So if you're like, it's like if you're out there and you're happy where you're at right now, look, I'm always a big advocate for happiness. Hey, do you? Who am I to say that your life is not where you need to be? I mean, everybody's happiness is dependent on you. So if you're happy where you're at right now, you're living good, and you're happy with where you're at right now, then do you. But if you're out there right now, you listen to this and you feel like within yourself that you're not satisfied, like you said, where you're at right now, you feel like that you have more to life to offer. You feel like there's something, there's a higher purpose out there for you. And there is a life that you want to create. You're tired of your circumstance. You're tired of the struggle, tired of living the paycheck to paycheck, tired of being broke, and you want to make a change. Then, like you said, if you want to change, you have to start making changes, and which means that you have to grow. And if you grow, that means you can't be the same person you are today. And like I said, that's when the island mentality, like you said, is unhealthy.
Mhm.
So if you want to stay the same and you're cool with that, cool. Live that island mentality. That's great, right? But if you want to grow and if you want a different life, you want better things, then that's when that island mentality does you a disservice and doesn't give you the best advantage and puts you in the best position as possible. And I think that was a real. Thank you for correcting that.
I corrected for myself too.
yeah. I wanted to make sure out there because even though I'm very passionate, because for me, like I want everybody to succeed. Like, man, I wish everybody in the community had works towards their goals and dreams and make something out of myself. But then I had to like take a step back and realize like at the end of the day, everybody has their own life and everybody has their own happiness. So like I'm not here to tell you what to do with your life. I'm not here. All I can do is just impress upon you to know that just to let you know that there is an other side, just in case. Like if you like whatever life you're living right now, there is a better life out there. There is an other side. But if you're willing to go to the other side, tap into it, then you have to be willing to let go of that mindset and start growing with that mindset. So cool. So we kind of broke that down a little bit, everybody. Island mentality, like that. I want to go into the next thing that you talked about before, and I think you might go off a little bit, but I want to hear this. So let's talk about the Faficaos. Let's talk about the Faficaos, right? So one of the things I feel like that stops a lot of Polynesians from growth, but also why a lot of our Polynesians keep living in poverty, is that Polynesian cultural value of giving, right? That's one of the most beautiful things about Polynesians, about our people. Man, we have such big hearts, and we are willing to go the extra mile for our family members, for the people we love, for our friends, for our community. Oh my God! Like, have you ever seen Tongans organize an event? Like, that's one of the most beautiful things, and that's one of the, that's one of the beautiful things I see with our people. Like, we just when we want to come together and celebrate and organize, like we know how to do that. Like we can, like, you see that in churches, you see that in family functions, but the dark side to that I see in my own experiences is that a lot of us there's a lot of pressure to keep giving, and a lot of times people would give to the point where they start suffering themselves financially, and I can just go talk about Mistinales. Well, I see families that give the money they should be given towards their rent. They give it towards their church, and I see a lot of families that they want to make sure that they keep giving towards these functions and these things that we have responsibilities that we have as Polynesians, and they end up suffering themselves as children. I've experienced a lot where I remember when I grew up that once I got a paycheck, I just gave it towards my family, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
I work for my paycheck. I give it to my family because that's in the end of the day, that's our responsibility to help out. Everybody had to pitch in, but a lot of times that I started suffering myself because I didn't have any money for myself, and I did realize that one of the biggest things I learned about success and growth is like I can't help anybody if I can't help myself. Like, I could give my entire paycheck towards my family, but if I don't take some money, invest into myself, invest into some learning, invest into some courses, invest into my dreams, then I will never be able to better myself. So, and that's something I just see a lot that as Polynesians can give it. And also that ties into a lot of the Faficaos that you see, that we give a lot of money to these Faficaos, and these guys just take that money, and I've heard it, and I've had personal conversations with my friends, like, man, how come like these guys, like, why are we like, well, we have the money, like if you see how much money that we give, like I always that's one of the things I always hear from my friends and from families, like we don't have the money to start a business, we don't have the money to start this, but we always find a way. But when it comes to like church events, we always find a way to get the money. But when it comes to our like a goal or a dream or a business, we make excuses why we can't find the money. Mm-hmm. But I want to hear your perspective on that, the expectation to give and be willing to say no. That's one thing I realized for myself growing up, that it was okay for me to say no if it meant for my own personal growth. And that's one of the hardest things as as I feel like as a Tongan kid was when I had to tell my family, you know what, I'm choosing. When they asked me for financial help and support, I told them I can't give you the money because I need to take this money right now, invest into myself, and invest it towards something I'm working on. And when I did that, everybody started labeling me as like "tai ofa." You're a kid, you don't care, you don't love your family. Even though I've been giving it my entire paycheck for years, but at one time I do something for myself, I'm seen as this kid that doesn't care and values money more and materialistic. And then also, like you said, I just see families like fall into that pressure of giving towards the misnowledge, the church functions for the Fafegaos, and all these Fafegaos are living well, but then the church members are struggling, which is kind of crazy to me. I thought, for me, I always saw that the Fafegaos or the leader of the church is supposed to serve the people. And I feel like sometimes it's kind of nowadays, it's kind of reversed where we're serving and worshiping the Fafegaos, but I don't know. But that's just my thoughts. But I'm interested to hear, because I know you did kind of talk about it, is our church leaders and people giving money to these church leaders instead of investing that money into themselves, into their own kids. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so my thoughts are, I think that I want to preface that it is important that we tithe to our local church, and that we sow in to the kingdom, right? So that we sow into the kingdom. So if you're not doing that, that's a heart check for you and God to do with each other. But I think it's important that you sow in to the work that's being done in the kingdom, and that you be contributing to your local church. And then on the other end, so regardless of what they're doing with that money, tithe into your local church. You're sowing into the kingdom, because that's a heart space between you and God. On the other end, for church leaders, like the very people who are placed in a position to shepherd the flock are not doing a very good job at it. Okay, people are not getting spiritually fed. People are not transforming. And this is the thing. Like, I understand everyone has their own spiritual walk and their own process of growth. But if we're going into 2021 right now, and your church is the same 200 people that you see week in, week out, and not a single person has transformed, or not a single person has made a significant impact, or if you're just going to the same service every single week, week in, week out, week in, week out, I would ask you, like, what's happening inside of you? Where are your needs? How come you're not getting fed? And then my question for the leadership of that church is, what's going on? What's the deal, right? Is this church about you, or is it about God? Or are you just saying that it's about God, right? And this is it's a touchy subject to talk about. Because,
Yep.
But I mean, this is, bro, if 2020 has taught us something, 2020 taught us that no matter what we have planned out, like, God's in control regardless, right? I was like, yo, 2020 vision, it's about to be my year. And God said, I'm about to hit you with this pandemic, right? Yeah. And like, man, God's placing all of us in a position to be like, yo, everybody needs to wake up right now. Your focus has been in the wrong place. And I think from the people in the pews, the people sitting in the pews, to the leaders who are standing in the front of the pulpit, there needs to be massive revival and change in a big way. You know what I mean? And like, that needs to happen, because if that doesn't happen, what continues to happen is, like, literally, if we take a look at Tonga, right? From the very beginning, the very first king of Tonga, when they're trying to figure out what they should put on our flag, what animal should we put? An eagle? Should we put a lion? And he said, no, we're going to put the cross to represent Jesus Christ on the cross and the blood that he shed for this nation. And he goes down to the ground and he picks up the dirt and he says, this nation, that's where he said, you know, motonga gohokutofia, right? Like that's the moment when he said that. He offered our land to God. And we've become a people who've gotten away from that. And like it goes to the, like all of the habits that we have now are like so off track. Why do you have guys doing Kava till 3 o'clock in the morning? You know what I'm saying? Talking about nonsense, right? The Kava was created so that we can come together and talk about what's happening in our community. And to bring our community together is where the men would sit and we'd say, there's issues that are happening in our community. This is how we're going to fix it. Right? But we got away from that. Now you got just dudes who are just sitting around just doing Kava just to do it. Not even worried about what's happening in the communities. Now we got people who, you got broken families. I'm getting passionate again, bro. We got broken families. You got divorces. You got people who are cheating on each other. Now you got a generation of women, of Tongan women who don't even know how to live life or make something of themselves. We got a generation of broken Tongan men who think that it's okay to just go date and sleep with anything that walks. We've walked away from what God designed for us. And it starts with the people who are standing at the pulpit, because those are the ones who are leading the congregations. So I'm going to say, yo, if you're a leader of a church, you got to step your game up. Like if you're looking at the same congregation over and over and over again, what's going on? You need to check your heart. You need to get with God. You need to get down on your knees and be like, come on now. Because we've become a nation. And man, I hate to say this, man. I hate to say this, but this is just on my heart to say. We've become a nation that for many people, we're a laughing stock.
Yeah.
When people look at us, they look at us and they say, yeah, you work yate. Yeah, you work at the airport. Yeah, you're going to be a caregiver. That's all we're known as. Oh yeah, you maybe a potential NFL football player here and there. Congratulations. That's who we've become as a people. And when are we gonna wake up? Again, I'm not gonna blame anybody. I'm not gonna sit here and blame our elders. I'm so grateful for what they've taught us. But I really believe that there is a generation of people who are probably like in their early 20s to like where I'm at, like 36, late 30s, early 20s, late 30s, that are sick and tired of seeing it, man. That are sick and tired of seeing the same thing happen over and over and over again. Every weekend is Groundhog's Day because another family member passes away from diabetes. Another family member is broke. Another family member is locked up. And we've become the laughing stock. Like I'm saying, and I'm not saying this to degrade our people. We are a strong nation. We are a strong people. We're a giving people. We're a loving people. We're a caring people. We're a laughter and having fun people. No one throws a party like us. The people out there in the world, they love us. Well, you wonder why people are attracted to Tongans when they go out there, with Polynesians when we go out in the world? Because we got heart. But somewhere along the line, that heart got hardened. And it walked away from the very purpose that God gave us from the very beginning. And here we are, sitting stuck, so many people stuck, not thinking that they could do anything. You know what I'm saying? Something's got to happen. Our lives got to be transformed. And there's got to be people who are willing to rise up, who are willing to take the baton and say, no longer. Hey, all these generational pieces, all the generational poverty, all the generational adultery and stuff that's happening in my family, yo, that stops with me right now. There's got to be somebody brave enough And I'm saying I'm willing to live that life. I know that you're willing to live that life, but we need more people to live that life, right? In a nuclear bomb, when a nuclear bomb gets set off, before it gets set off, there's something called critical mass. Critical mass is the minimum amount of nuclear activity to cause a chain reaction for that nuclear explosion to occur. So what we have to do is we got to find enough people to create critical mass. Because if we have enough critical mass, the chain reaction occurs and that nuclear explosion of our nation we can thrive again. But we got to have enough people to come together, and it boils down to certain pieces. Who's leading the household? And then who's leading our churches? And then who's leading our nation? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we've gotten away from like biblical leadership, and we've stepped into just walking around aimlessly in the desert, bro.
Yeah.
What? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I hope that this would be an encouragement to somebody, man, because I don't, when you had mentioned earlier, you had said, yeah, you know, if you're comfortable, you know, being where you're at, that's okay. I would challenge that. I would challenge that, because if you say that you're comfortable, you had never been exposed to something bigger than where you're at right now. Because guaranteed, if you were exposed, you wouldn't want to be where you're at right now.
Yeah.
If you were exposed to the greatness that's been placed inside of you, you wouldn't be comfortable with where you're at right now. You could convince yourself that you are, but until you were exposed, there's not a single person, like literally, if we put you onto a private jet and we flew you out to a 5-star resort and we told you that that's the life that you could have, you will never want to go back to where you once were. Guaranteed.
That's fast.
Yeah, guaranteed. You'll never want to go back. But it's just people have not been exposed to it. And that's where that critical mass comes in. Enough critical mass causes the chain reaction. We expose people to living a life that's bigger than themselves. And then we got a nation that's healed, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going off today.
Hey, we have to sometimes. We got to go off sometimes. Yeah, so I mean, so what do you say? I mean, just listen to everything, and then, which is true, like, it's going to require, for change to happen, it's going to require for a lot of us to make changes, and for a lot of us to step outside. So, like, what do you think is going to be, obviously, the change, like you say, you know, I mean, I know right now, like, for me, I remember I had a conversation with my friends, like, changing our leaders and changing the elders is probably nearly impossible, because, you know, we know that old saying, you know, you can't teach old dogs new tricks, you know, but, you know, by the time somebody reaches their 40s and 50s, you know, they're already set in their ways as far as their conditioning, their beliefs, and what they believe in to be true. So it's probably, so in my opinion, it's probably going to start with us, the next generation, which is you and me, and then the next generation over. So it's going to be us who will be the ones that the future leaders and the future people for our generation, for our people. So, and then I know I mentioned it. I want to ask you is, and I know I talked about before, you know, at the end of the day, anybody out there that's going to make a change is going to require you. And I know we talked about this before when we first met. It is going to require you to be selfish, so you have to focus on yourself, you know, but it's going to require you, and I'm going to quote you, use the words of Josiah, to step outside from the culture, from the people, so you can work on yourself, take some time to learn new things, learn new thoughts, and see the other side. Like you said, like, you know, you can be comfortable right now, but if you knew there was an other side, but that other side requires you to step outside from the current world and bubble and mentality and beliefs that you know now, right? Mm-hmm. So I want you to talk about that, because I know that's one of the hardest things, and I know you talked about it for yourself, and I know you talked about it your parents as well, when they had to step outside of the culture, not step away, mm-hmm. because we're always going to be Tongan. We're always going to be Polynesian, and that's one of the things I used to hear a lot from people when I started when I realized for myself that, look, that I can't do what everybody else is doing. It's, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. All right. If you follow what everybody else is doing, you're gonna get what you're going to get what everybody else is getting. And I realized myself, like, everybody's going this way, and I saw the reality, right? I saw the reality of what happens when you work out there. I saw the reality of what happens when you work at airport. I saw the reality of what happens when you work caregiver. My mom was a caregiver. My dad was a security guard. I know what that outcome I know what the outcome of that life, those choices are, because I lived in that household. So I realized that if I make the same decision my parents did, and I make the same decisions of my culture, of my people that I saw growing up, I realized that's going to be the outcome of my life. And I realized, oh, I have to step outside of that and start thinking differently. And one of the hardest things was making that decision was when you step outside of your culture, everybody calls you what? Oh, you want to be Fia Palangi. I want to be Fia Mea. Oh, you don't, you're different, you know. And then all these labels and things they call you outside, all the criticism, judgment, and you receive for stepping outside, for being different, and focusing on you. So, but that's gonna be a process. I want to talk about this because, like you said, like we just talked about, I just told you right now, for that critical mass to happen, it's going to require more people in our generation to step outside their culture, their family, and start making moves of themselves, start working on their goals and their dreams and on their desires, start working on the things that they're passionate about, and start, you know, taking a leap of faith, taking a risk in life, making changes. So I want to ask you your experience of stepping outside of your own culture, your own people, so that way you can better yourself, so that way you can grow, so that way you can start working on yourself to be better. You said it best, and if you want change, you have to change. And if you want a better life, just be better. Simple. It's simple. Honestly, it's simple as that. If you want change, you want to change. If you want to change your life, you got to change. If you want better, just be better. It's simple as that. So I want you to talk about that. What was the hardest thing about you stepping outside from your culture, from your people, from your friends, growing up? And that's one of the hardest things to do, is to step away from all those people you love and all those people you grew up with, and go into the unknown, and start connecting with new people, connecting with new, building new relationships. And because I want to talk about that process, so that way anybody that's listening to this right now, to let them know, like, this is the blueprint of what you need to do to change, to grow. And if we can get more people like that, and hopefully by watching this podcast, I hope that more people make that decision and make that change in their life. And hopefully they can, for them to do that, by watching this podcast, they can also inspire the people in their life to give permission. I think one of my favorite quotes, I forgot who it was, but he said that when you step into your light and shine, you unconsciously give permission for others to shine as well. And I hope for people watching this and they can feel that fire, that well up from that fire from Josiah. Hopefully they can make that change to step outside their culture and go outside that comfort zone and start working on themselves. And by doing so, other people in their life will see that and they can start doing it. And hopefully that creates a chain reaction in the community and more people, because like you said, you know, it's going to require all of us. You and me can do it, talk about this all day, and you can reach the highest point and be successful. I can reach all my goals, be successful. But if it's only me and you and a very few people, that's not going to really change anything within our community. It's going to require a group effort that everybody out there is striving. So, but I want you to talk about that concept of stepping outside of your culture, not stepping away from it. If you can break that down, what that means.
Yeah, that's really great.
Cool.
So stepping outside of the culture basically means you can't see the whole picture of your life if you're inside of the picture frame. Right? So like if I'm inside of the picture frame, I can't look at the entirety of my life. I've got to step outside of the picture frame to be able to turn around and look in, right? And so stepping outside of the culture is placing us in a position to be able to have perspective on life, right? Have you, I don't know if you've ever done this, but so like, I'll take it back to like high school. If you're inside of the guys' locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you spend enough time inside of the guys' locker room, you know, you're breathing in the air that's in there. It probably doesn't smell too bad, right? But if you step outside of the room, like for like 15 minutes and you go right back into that locker room, it smells like trash, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't know that you're inside of a stinky room unless you leave it. And then you come back and you recognize, yo, this locker room don't smell too good, right? It smells hecka musty and all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to step away to be able to take a look at where you've been, at the life that you've been living. And I didn't realize like all of these limiting beliefs until I stepped outside of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily that it's bad, right? I'm not saying that it's bad. It works for where it's at, you know, it has its place, right? But also, like, I don't know if you've ever heard, you know, the concept of the hero's journey before. You ever hear about that before?
No.
The hero's journey. So the hero's journey, there was a guy who created this book, and basically he studied every single heroic character from Greek mythology all the way to nowadays movies, right? And he said that the hero always follows the same storyline. The hero is found in his hometown and he's working away. And one day somebody comes along, sometimes it's an older person, and they tell that hero that, hey, you're a hero, you're created for great things. And sometimes that hero doesn't believe it right off the bat, right? Mm-hmm. And so some part of the story, something chaotic happens. Like the princess gets kidnapped by a dragon, or an evil villain comes into town, right? Mm-hmm. And this person comes back to the hero and says, you're the one who's been chosen to make an impact and to save our kingdom, right? And then the hero goes along on that journey and finds a group of people who partner up with him, and now they're off, right? They're off on this adventure. They go into the unknown. And at a certain part of the story, the hero is faced with this massive dragon or villain, or in many people's lives, the very limiting belief that has been stopping you, right? And at some point they defeat that dragon or whatever it may be, right? And that's not the end of the story though, because at the end of the story, the hero always returns back home, right? The hero always returns back home. The hero overcame the challenges and always turns back home and reveals to their town or their village what has occurred, right? And so the reason why I bring that up is because if you're watching this podcast right now, let me be the one to tell you that you're the hero. You're the one who's been designed to create some great things in this world. And if you're specifically in the Tongan community or Polynesian community, you've been the one who's been chosen to absolutely take the reins and turn this thing around. The question is, are you going to own it and step into the unknown? It's going to require for you to step outside of the culture. It's going to require for you, because people are not going to understand it.
Yep.
There's going to be people who are going to be like, what are you doing, man? You're wasting your time doing that. There's no benefit in any of that for you. Why don't you just stay where we're at? Mm-hmm. But see, people don't want to see, they're doing it out of love. They're trying to keep you safe. But see, you weren't designed to live a safe life. You were designed to live a life of adventure, of excitement, of risk taking. You were designed to make that. You were designed to do hard things, right? But many people don't step outside of that, and they just stay comfortable, and then they just shrink back. And so I want to encourage you to say, man, you are the hero that's designed to go out and battle that limiting belief that's been stopping you. You ain't got to be broke anymore. What if I told you that you don't have to work at the airport to make good money? You don't have to be a caregiver to make good money. What if I told you that you don't have to be 350 pounds struggling with diabetes for the rest of your life? What if I told you that you didn't have to go to every single kaipola and eat every single thing under the sun until you hate yourself the next morning? What if I told you that? You know what I'm saying? Like there's a different possibility for your life, but you got to be willing to step outside of what you know to be able to grow.
Man, I like that, man. I like that hero. That's the first time I heard that hero analogy. So something I just thought about when you were sharing that moment, and something I thought about myself when it came to my own the process, because I feel like I want to share this with everybody, because when you talked about the hero being chosen, but he may not necessarily believe that he can be the hero. And I feel like that's one of the most important moments in everybody's life. Is we all get to a point in our life that I feel like everybody gets to a point in their life that they want to make a change, but it's just the lack of self-belief and confidence that they can make that change. A lot of people don't take that step. And something I just want to share with everybody, something I heard. I don't know, have you heard of a guy named Shetty? He's a social media influencer. I love that guy spreads a lot of good positivity. He used to be a monk, transformed his life, and then one of the top influencers right now in the world. And I want to, because I feel like it ties back into what we grew up as Polynesians, because one thing I remember him saying, because if you don't know his story, he grew up in a traditional Indian family that wanted him to be a doctor, lawyer. Indian families are just like us, immigrant families. But then he decided to be a monk, right? And then of course, his family thought he was crazy, to stop going to college, stop working towards being a lawyer, a doctor. I forgot what he wanted to work on, but then he decided to go spend, I think, 2 or 3 years being a monk, and then. But the lessons and the mentality and the meditation and learning about love, positivity, motivation, determined who he is today, and one of the biggest reasons why he's one of the top influencers right now in the world. But he said something that was very powerful. He said that in life we only know what we see, and he said that, look, he grew up in a household full of lawyers, doctors. He wouldn't be the influencer and living the life that he is living today if he didn't go outside that household, that belief, and go see what being a monk feels like and is like. And until you see that other side, until you see it for yourself, then you wouldn't know that life is possible until you see it for yourself, until you step outside of it. And I just thought about that while you were sharing that moment of a hero. When every hero doubts themselves in the beginning, every story. Like, in the beginning, like, it's either the ghosts or somebody tells them, hey, you are meant for this path. And the hero's like, yeah, right. That's not me. Every hero doubts themselves at the beginning of what they're possible for their life. And I feel like for me, as a Tongan, I grew up in a house, like I said, like you mentioned, all the jobs that most of people are in, which is caregiving, which is working at the yate, working at the airport. And I don't want to belittle these jobs, because this is the jobs that fed me. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not here to disrespect anybody's profession. I will never disrespect how anybody feeds their family and puts food on the table. I respect everybody's profession, what you choose to do. But I also want to let you know that there is a better path. There is a different life outside of it, if that's what you want for your life, if that's something you want to pursue. But I remember growing up, and I remember this vividly, that I thought that my life, all I could do was yate. All I could do was work at the airport. At one time, that was my dream job. I was like, I'm about to work at this airport, boy, but again, like, this ramp life. I really thought that was my dream job, work at the airport. And I thought that was what I was destined to do, because that's what I saw, and that's all I knew. And the reason why I say this, because how many times it saddens me when I see so many young Polynesians, right, out of high school, and then the first thing they do is just go right into these jobs without even trying something new to see what's possible out there. Like, I have a lot of cousins doing caretaking, and I have nothing, like I said, I have nothing against caretaking, but they're in their like 18, 19, 20, 21. Caretaking is a job where, usually for older females, right? But I see all these energetic, intelligent young women, Polynesian women doing caretaking when I knew they could be doing something else. But in my mind is if they only knew they could do something else, because their whole life they've been, I guess maybe the word is groomed or conditioned to believe that caretaking is all they could ever be, or what's possible for them. And then, but like I said, that's all I grew up doing, and I thought that's my life going to be. But luckily, for some reason, like I told you before, and when we talked about it, like I got into sales, and I think that's a grace of God, because that was just me applying for a job I didn't know. I applied for like 20 jobs online, and the only thing that responded back was the sales job, and I just walked in there and tried it out, and then that forever changed my life. I feel like that was like just like a luck of the draw, but until I got into sales and just tried it and just see what that lifestyle, what that profession was like. Even though, like I said, it was really hard at the beginning doing sales and doing door-to-door sales, because door-to-door sales, you have to go out and talk to people. And if anybody that knows about the door-to-door life, it's hard. You go out there and talk to people, get slammed and rejected every single day. I don't even know how I kept going back after the first week, when I literally would go out there and knock on doors and get one sale the whole day. Worked like one sale back in the day when I first worked at the job was like $40. So I would go out there and knock for 12 to 13 hours, get one sale. So I made $40 in 12, 13 hour in a 12, 13 hour day in the door-to-door life. But what I want to ask you is, because I want to get your opinion, is when you grew up as a Tongan, what were your beliefs of what you believe for yourself, of what you could possibly do based on your environment? And I want you to talk about that, and then why did you make that change, and how did you make that change? Because I feel like that's that's one of the hardest steps in anybody's life. It's just taking that first step of just taking that leap of faith into the unknown, knowing that you have no idea how this is going to work out. But for some reason, you just have some faith. So how do you call it? Faith, gut. You're just going, I'm going to just try to see what happens, because I feel like that's the first step for everybody, for any Polynesian, and that wants to do something. You just got to go out there and try it. Just step outside. And even if you tried the first time and you fail, just keep trying. But at least you get that experience and knowing that there is a different life out there. Because once you know that there is a different life out there, I know for you, when you realize that, oh wow, there is a better life outside of what you grew up to know as a kid, as a Tongan kid, growing up in Vallejo. Once you realize, I know that for everybody goes through this, working towards their goals. Once you know, oh wow, there is a better life, then all that beliefs and limiting beliefs you have about yourself goes out the door. Because at one point in time, like you said, I thought that work at the airport, doing out there and doing what everybody else did was something that I wanted for myself. But like you said, getting on that private jet, when you talked about it before, once you get that taste of a different life, a different outcome, and realize, oh wait, there is a different, my life could go a different route. And once you realize that once I realized that for myself, then that's when everything changed for me, and I didn't look back at that point in my life. So I want to ask you is, what were the limiting beliefs that you have about yourself? Growing up, what did you think you could possibly do? I know you mentioned like working security. So what were the professions that you saw growing up as a child in your household? And what were the professions that you dreamed of doing and you thought that was what your life was going to be? And then when you reach that moment that everybody comes across, okay, there is a better life. How did you feel? Did you feel fear? And I'm sure you probably felt some doubt within yourself, and how did you overcome that doubt? Because I just want to give that to the audience. I can let them know this is how, when you get that doubt and fear, I want them to take that first step, because I know once they get that taste of that out of life, I know that's when everything will start to change for their life. So, but I do want to ask you that question.
Yeah. So, I thought that I would be broke, that I wouldn't have a whole lot of money. I thought that I would be in security all my life.
Yeah.
you know, or you know, I worked construction, and I thought that that's where I would be. But I am super grateful for my parents because they instilled in me, like my mom was a loan data processor for a real estate company,
Okay.
and my dad did a lot of different kind of odd labor jobs, but they showed me that there was actually something different outside of it. Um, and so I started to find myself in places where I was exposed to living a better life for myself. So like working in the nightclub industry was when I, you know, was exposed to working with a lot of celebrities with a lot of money and a lot of people. And one of my very first bodyguarding jobs was for a prince from Saudi Arabia.
Oh man.
I was his personal bodyguard for about 2 weeks, and we traveled. We flew on a private jet. We did all the things we like, and he had money like crazy. And I was like, wow, like that's crazy that people actually live like this. And and something came into my mind where I was like, why can't I have this, right?
Yep. Yep.
But then doubt immediately set in, because back in my environment, I was filled with, you know, there was a lot of people with like just a poverty mindset. Um, and it wasn't until I moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona in 2017. You know, I decided like I want a life overhaul. I want my whole life to be overhauled, because just because I had a security business doesn't necessarily mean that I was successful. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, you know, a lot of people think that just because you're a business owner that you got it all made, you got it all together. You got all the, you must be rolling in the dough, right? But that's
Yeah.
not necessarily true, right? And so I had a business. It was not successful as I thought as it was. I had more overhead than anything else. And so I moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I wanted a whole life overhaul. So, bro, I started my health journey, my personal health journey. I dropped 150 pounds. I decided that I was going to get my finances right. I paid off all of my debt. I got my credit score right. I got everything right. I made sure that I just focused my intention on everything. And then once I got out of those modes where I wasn't worried about those things, you know, and this was all, you know, me building my health coaching business, then I started to recognize, okay, what's next, right? And sometimes it takes small little steps, right? For me, it was losing the weight. For me, it was paying off my debts here and there, and it didn't happen overnight. Like it was a certain process. It was day in, day out, focusing on those things, and then it finally got to a point where my debt was gone. I was 150 pounds lighter. I'd been helping people from all across the nation and getting healthy, and then I'm like, okay, dang, I could live an even bigger life now, right?
And
Now,
what age were you when you made that change again? In Scott.
yeah.
How old are you?
So I was 33 when I moved to Scottsdale.
And the reason why I asked that question is because I know one of the most common disbeliefs, a lot of people think that by the time they reach 30, it's over. Like, you know, you're too.
We just getting started, baby. We just started at 30.
And because everybody think you know, in our culture now, you know, everybody thinks that they have to have their life figured out by 30, and that's like everybody right now. I gotta have house, married, kids, dream job, everything figured out by 30. So if you don't have your life figured out by 30, people just give up. Oh my God, it's over. I'm too old. But I just want you to say that, because I realize that anybody, you can change your life at any given point in time in your life. Doesn't matter if you're 30, 33, 35, 40. And I just want people to hear that perspective. For anybody out there that felt like that they're in the 30s right now, that, oh, I'm too old. It's too late now to make any change in your life. But you made the biggest decision to change your life at 33. And that was it.
Don't let them young social media influencers fool you, man. You ain't have it all together, and I guarantee they ain't even got it all together.
That's facts.
Like so people think that when you are a business owner, when you're an entrepreneur, it's this glamorous lifestyle, right? Because what they see is the highlight reel.
Yep.
But what you don't see are the nights, the sleepless nights, the moments of doubt, the moments where I'm like, dang, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I don't even know if this is right for me. The same doubts that you have right now, I have those same doubts too, often. But the difference between me and somebody who doesn't make it is they didn't take action.
Yep.
I took action, and I'm taking action every day. And there's areas of my business when I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm moving.
Take action anyway.
Got no choice. I got no choice. Right. So yes, never too late for you to change things around in your life. And you don't have to know it all. You don't have to get it all together. Surround yourself with people who do. Get you some mentorship, get you some accountability, and go for it.
One of the things I hate when people say is, I'll wait till tomorrow, or I'll wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. It's just a moment of time. You just make that decision to change your life. That's all that matters. And that's something I always hear from people. I'll wait for the perfect time. I'll wait till tomorrow. But like you said, you didn't wait. When you just felt at that point of time in your life that you needed to make a change, and you just did it. Just did it. That was it.
Dude, I put a post up on my Twitter that said, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough knowledge, I don't have enough, all of these things, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. Now, if I were to ask you if you would want to repeat the year of 2020, you'd probably say, oh, heck no, I don't want to repeat the year of 2020. Okay, but you've been repeating all of them excuses for years now, right? How is that working out for you? How are those excuses working for you right now? They probably not. And so, man, we got to start to change, man. You know, and if you however you fell upon this podcast, or you watching this video right now and you made it this far, yo, you need to change. You need it. You know you do. I don't even know who you are watching this podcast, but you know that you know there's some areas of your life you got to change, whether it's your finances, whether it's your health, whether it's your mindset, whether it's your relationships that you have. There's some things that got to change and some things that got to go. And don't you dare go through another year. Don't you dare go through another year the same way. You know, don't you dare end 2021 the same way that you started it. You know,
I want to ask you. So I know you are a health and business coach, right? Do you mentor a lot of Polynesians?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so me and my family, we're doing this together. Me, my sister Rosie, and my brother-in-law Danny, and my 61, soon to be 62-year-old mother is also helping people. And so we've been building an organization of Polynesians, more specifically Tongans. And, you know, I'll tell you the truth, it's challenging. It's challenging because there's so many different roadblocks and mindsets that we got to get over. But what I would also say too, and this is for like the successful entrepreneur or someone who, if you're watching this and you deem yourself to be successful and you maybe you stepped out of the Tongan community and you made something of yourself, can I tell you something? Don't give up. Don't give up on the Tongan community, right? There's other people who are in the Tongan community who are successful, who are doing great things. And at sometimes I feel like giving up. I'll be honest, bro. Sometimes I feel like there's no
Me too.
Hope, right? Sometimes I feel like that, but I got to remind myself over and over and over again, you know, I believe that Tongans all together, bro, we're God's people, bro, you know, and I can't turn my back on that, you know, so I'm always going to come back. I'm always going to provide an opportunity and hopefully there's, you know, those 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are willing to rise up and take the reins.
You know, to be honest, what you just said about giving up, I think about that like at least once a day. You know, because, you know, it's like you said, you know, people see the work, but people don't. People see the results, but they don't see the race. You know, everybody sees the finish line, but they don't see the race what you go through. One thing I want to share with everybody. Every single time when I start feeling like to give up, one thing that always helps me is I always look how far I've come in my life, and that's something that always inspires me. So, you know, it's hard. to work on to manifest your dreams and to create the life that you want. But one thing that always helps me is when even no matter how hard it gets, and I always look back at how far I've come, and I always ask myself, you know what? Look at how far I've come. Am I really about to give up? After I've came this far in my life, after all the stuff I've gone through, from growing up in Tonga, moving here to America, growing up in my household, dealing with all the stuff I've gone through and dealt with, all the negativity, all the struggles, all the obstacles, all the hate, and all the things I've gone through. Am I really about to give up and leave all that in vain? And then when I see how far I've come, for me, that always, I don't know about everybody else, but when I see how far I've progressed in my life, that always puts things in perspective for me to be grateful. You know what? Even though things are hard right now, I'm just grateful I'm here. I'm still alive. I still, God's given me the breath and the strength to wake up one more day and giving me another opportunity to go out there and make something out of myself. So, don't look, sometimes if you focus on how far you have to go towards your success, it might be discouraging, overwhelming, because you realize that you're nowhere close to where you want to be. But instead of looking how far you have to go, but look how far you've come, that will always inspire you, because you see how much you've gone through in your life. But one thing I want to ask you is, I had a question, and I had the question. What was the last thing you just shared? I had the question. It was something you shared. The last thing you just shared. Oh no, yeah, Polynesians. Okay, there we go. I got my chain of thought. Okay, so you mentor a lot of Polynesians with you and your family, your sister, your mom. I want to ask you, what are the common obstacles and struggles that you see among the clients that you serve and help? And I'm just curious to see, because you deal with a lot of them, and I just want to kind of discuss about that and kind of add value to, because I know a lot of our people that consume this, a lot of them are going to be Polynesians themselves.
Yeah, a lot of them are suffering from major medical conditions. A lot of them are diabetic, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypertension, all of those things. They're dealing with a lot of just unhealthy habits in their life, and they come into the process already doubting themselves that they can do this. So they defeated themselves even before they left the starting line.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, you're standing here with a window of opportunity, and you've already told yourself and convinced yourself that you're going to fail at it, right? And it's like that quote that says, whether you think you can, whether you think
you can,
you're right.
You're right.
And I can read it from a mile away on people when they jump in, and I try to tell people, like, I'd rather you not work with me. I'd rather you not waste your money and not work with me if you're not ready, and so, because some people have already defeated themselves even before they started to go. So that's a big mindset that I see. Just a lot of people just defeating themselves even before they get started.
And since we're on the topic and you just talked about chronic diseases, I know that's one of the things I wanted to tap into and wanted to discuss with you. And I know there's some things that you wanted to discuss with the physical health. All right. So that's something I know. I know in my own life that it's hard to be successful if you're unhealthy, right? And every day, at the end of the day, everything starts with our body. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how passionate you are. It doesn't matter how courageous you are. Doesn't matter how gifted you are. If you are unhealthy and you don't take care of your body, you're not going to go far in life. One of my favorite things I heard from my mentor, he always said that in life we only have one vehicle we get to travel in, which is our body. There is no renting. You don't get to rent another car, another vehicle. You don't get to change vehicles. You have one vehicle you get to travel in, which is the body that we use. So I know for us Polynesians, it's hard for us to even make a change because working towards your goals and dreams and success, it requires a lot of effort and a lot of energy to be expended from you. And if you're overweight, if you're suffering with some kind of chronic disease like diabetes or whatever, it's going to be hard to expend that energy, find that energy within yourself to do the things you need to do to be successful. I'm not gonna lie, I think it was like 2016, 2015, there was a point in time in my life when I didn't take care of my health. And I ballooned up almost 300 pounds. And I remember that experience like it was yesterday. Like I didn't feel like doing anything. I woke up, I was tired all the time. I lacked the energy. I didn't feel motivated to do anything. And usually what happens is once I took care of my health first and became more physically fit and physically healthy, then I had the energy to do what I needed to do. So, but we do want to talk about that, physical health. Of course, the physical health that we see within our community, with our Tongan community, Polynesian community, and your advice is what we should do as people, what we should stop doing as a culture, because I feel like it's a cultural thing sometimes that we don't talk about nutrition in the house. We just let our kids eat whatever, and we don't have a discussion. If we see our kids becoming obese or becoming overweight, I feel like somebody has to step in and say something. Hey, we need to. But I feel like in our culture, it's encouraged. Like if you are overweight, it's like people encourage you to be overweight. And if you work to, and you know how in our Tongans, if you try to work to be skinny, they'll laugh at you and make fun of you for being skinny. So that's a cultural thing I see a lot. But I just want to ask you is like, what can we, of all because it's sad to see a lot of people in our community die from heart failure. I remember I had a cousin a couple of years ago die heart attack at 31. I think one of my friends or one of the cousins I saw on Facebook that 31 years old passed away, heart attack at 31 years old, which is crazy to me because 31 years old, your life, you're still in your prime as far as your life. So what are the things you see that we do as a people? What are the habits? What are our bad habits? What are the things that you see that we need to change as far as a culture when it comes to our relationship with food and our physical health?
Yeah. Well, as you're talking and sharing that, I got a text message from my mom literally just now.
Mm-hmm.
Says, here's the latest. 42-year-old Tongan father did not wake up from his sleep this morning, left 8 children behind. If that ain't a wake-up call for people.
Yeah.
You telling me that there's a 42-year-old man who passed away in his sleep because of his health and left 8 children behind. There's 8 kids. Now what are they going to do? Who do they got to lead them? Who they got to teach them? And it's like, y'all, we got to wake up. And you talk about like, what do we got to stop doing? We got to stop making fun of people when they decide that they want to make a change in their life. And what you need to start doing is taking a look at yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just the real talk right now. And I know that I'm passionate about these things, but I say this out of the purest place of love. I say this because, again, I just got this text message right now. I can't sit here and just be like, oh yeah, eat right and exercise. Nah, I'm saying you need to stop stuffing your face every single weekend and laughing at people and thinking that it's okay. It's not. And I'm not gonna body shame anybody, right? Because I was there. I was 358 pounds. I'm not gonna body shame anybody, but this whole thing about you telling yourself, oh yeah, big is beautiful. Yeah, big is beautiful on the outside, but the inside, your insides are withering away. You're dying. And so back again, here we are. We're a culture that's spiritually malnourished. We're a culture that's financially in poverty. We're a culture that is mindset that is not even close to being abundant, but we sure are well fed. But we sure are like literally physically like overweight. And it's like, when does that end? Right? When does that end? When does it stop? And I'll tell you what I think the solution to this is. When we break free, because it's easy to turn to food when nothing else is working.
Yeah.
When nothing else in your life is working, it's easy to turn to food. And we've turned to food. And we've turned to making jokes and making fun of everybody when they want to make a change. But until the culture shifts where they're at spiritually, financially, mentally, and make a change for themselves physically, nothing will change. And so, like, that's the big thing. I got a call here in a few minutes, though.
Yeah.
But, I want to encourage y'all, man. Yo, something's got to change. Like, if you're sitting there staring at yourself in the mirror, because I've been there. If you got into a flight and you couldn't put a seatbelt buckle on, or you had to ask for a seatbelt extender, it's time to change. If you got kicked off of a roller coaster because the seatbelt wouldn't buckle anymore, it's time to change. If you're out of breath walking up a flight of stairs, it's time to change. If you're finding yourself in the same circle of broke people with broke mindset, it's time to change. And so it is time for you to change, and no one's going to change it for you. You got to take personal responsibility, find the people to surround yourself with, get mentorship, educate yourself, and make that change. And I guarantee you won't regret it. It will be the greatest decision that you ever make in your entire life.
I feel like more people need to hear that, man. I'm surprised you haven't made those types of videos for your own personal page, for your own social media page. Because I felt that in the heart, because and the reason why I know you're coming from a good place, because when you just see when you see suffering, man, like, you just get tired of it. Like, when you see, especially when it's the people closest to you. Like, I know a lot of people might hear this and be like, I don't care what the guy says, because whatever you want to say, but what's the word I say? You always belittle and laugh about something until it happens to you. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna laugh about this, and you're gonna laugh about, I'm good, I don't need to change my life, I don't need to lose weight. These guys are ridiculous. What they're talking is crazy. I'm good. But until it happens to you, until it happens to someone you know, and that's when shit gets real in life. And that's something that always for me, that encourages me to keep working, because I don't want to get to that point. A lot of the motivation I have for myself to be successful is for myself. I want to be great. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be the best I can be. But a lot of the reason why I stay healthy and why I want to be successful is actually for the people I love. Like, I want to be able to support and help out my family, my parents, and the people I love and care about. I try to be healthy not only to feel good about myself, but I want to be healthy because I want to be there for everybody that I love and care about, especially when I have future kids. And that's something I always want to say to people is, like, when you're working towards something great, it's not always about you. It's always about the people who rely on you. Like that 42-year-old guy, man, just passed away. He left 8 kids, and if he would have changed his life, he would have done it for himself. But there's people that rely on him. But I know, for the sake of time, I know you got a call coming up. I just want to say thank you for taking the time. And everybody out there, man, I know people watching this. Honestly, if you don't have the energy, if you don't feel something in your heart that if this didn't inspire you to do something about your life, to make a change in your life, then there's a lot of things going on in your life immensely. There's a lot of things that you need to fix, you need to work on within yourself. But the one thing I want to ask you before you leave, because the main topic we talked about today was just mindset and change. If somebody wanted to make a change today, what would you be your advice of the first change everybody should make to start their journey? If it came to one decision, one change.
Yeah, if it came, and this is just popping off in my mind because this is what's helped me so much, is personal integrity. Personal integrity. And what I mean by that is personal integrity on how you show up to your meetings, how you show up to your work, how you show up to your family, how you show up to your relationships, how do you show up to your finances? Are you running from the IRS because you didn't pay your taxes? You need to get that back in integrity. Do you owe people a whole lot of money and you're severely in debt? You need to get that together. Have you not been tithing to your church? Because, you know, you got to get that right. It's a heart space thing. And so
Okay.
only you and you know what area of your life is out of integrity. And you got to make a decision that you're going to do whatever it takes to make that right. Because you can't build off of a rocky foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And if your life if there's any area of your life that's out of integrity, you're on a rocky foundation, and you can't build on top of sand, right? You can only build on top of the rock, and the only rock that you have is a foundation of personal integrity and responsibility for your life. So that's what I got to offer, man.
All right, that's it. All right. Thank you again, everybody out there. Make that personal change and that personal change as far as integrity. But I just want to say again, Josiah, thank you for the time, making the time for this podcast. Everybody out there, I'll leave information on the bottom up below in this video. So if anybody out there wants to find out more and support and consume more of his content and want more of his fire, then definitely click on this tag and definitely go and follow my brother right here. But then again, thank you very much. I'm about to turn off the Zoom. I'm going to talk to you real quick before you leave. All right. Thank you. All right.